Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. My name is Rohit Choudhary. I'm the founder and CEO of Acceldata. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Atul Dalmia, who is the Chief Analytics Officer for Morgan Stanley Wealth Management. Atul, welcome.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited about having this conversation.
Atul, one of the areas that I think everybody's fascinated about, including us, is, what is the role of AI in, existing large segments of businesses? And, I'm sure that Morgan Stanley is way ahead of, possibly a lot of other companies in terms of adoption of AI. And, I want to focus a little bit about how you guys are thinking about AI itself. And, you talked a little bit about how advisors with the right leads are, matched up and how you're using some advanced analytics, machine learning, etc. But are you also going to be using AI to address emerging client needs, especially among self-directed investors who, are growing in population based on everything that we've seen in the last 5 years? It's post-COVID era. And, I'm sure that AI will become competitive to some of the business areas that you're operating in.
That's a great question. So I think if you just look at question you asked, it falls within the wealth management business.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that Morgan Stanley as a wealth management business, from a strategy perspective, we were always focused on getting people advice through financial advisors. And I think we acquired E-Trade as a firm, which is a self-directed brokerage in 2020. And so we effectively offer a whole suite of products. I talked about advice, which is for a financial advisor. We have self-directed, which is when you try to manage your own needs. And then we have workplace, which is all your stock plan vestings that happen or your retirement solutions. We help manage it for our clients. So if you think about self-directed investors, one of the things we saw was that obviously at early stages in life, a lot of clients like to manage their own portfolio. But as they mature, as they get more wealthy, they're looking for advice to be able to help manage. It's also their needs get more complex. And I think what we have seen and done very successfully is these leads that we feel who are ready to move to advice. So we have a propensity model that we use to identify using historical data which clients, whether they are self-directed, whether they are workplace clients who we feel are ready to move to advice. We have a strategy which we call Path to Advice, which we identify using over 400 attributes. We have an AI machine learning model, which helps identify which of these clients are looking for advice. And then we target them using our relationship managers, which are human interactions, as well as our digital interactions, to be able to make sure we have the conversation at the right time, as well as the fact that we are matching them to the right financial advisor to have the most constructive conversation. We obviously have a ton of history in having done that, and the machine learning models built on these attributes to be able to do this match.
Makes sense. If you were to look at the best AI outcomes that you've seen, and I'm sure that, the implementation includes things like, chatbots, Q&A, summarization, to, scale your own productivity for advisory services. What has worked the best? What is really working according to you from a scale of 0 to 10? What's 10 and what's been 0 from an AI implementation perspective?
It's a great question. I'll talk a little bit more about our initial approach to the set of tools we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal has really been to make sure that our financial advisors and our clients are able to use a lot of these AI tools to be able to drive higher productivity. Maybe I'll just describe about 3 or 4 tools, just to give a flavor of the things we have built. They're obviously very public information. Really building out a Gen AI powered chatbot. And the goal really was to make sure that our financial advisors have rapid access to all the Morgan Stanley intellectual capital. It's been extremely successful. 98% of our financial advisors actively use this tool. And it's really increased the productivity in terms of being able to access really what was our capital and our content to be able to talk to our clients. We have now further embedded this into our own advisor hub, so they're able to use it within the workflow that they actually use and be able to get this information faster. So I think this concept of a chatbot has been extremely useful and highly adopted. The next area where we invested in was a tool called Debrief. It's really a Gen AI powered tool that, obviously, with client consent, we are able to get notes and record client meetings that the financial advisors have, and it summarizes everything to have a simple summary email and action items that come out of this. We launched this mid last year, and again, extremely well received by FAs. It has driven efficiency. It has summarized conversations really far, and we are now rolling this out across our mobile app into Salesforce experience that we have. I would say, from the question again, from 1 to 10, I would definitely say it's more like an 8 or 9, and
Wow.
it's been it's been it's been extremely well received. And I think the measure of success always is adoption. Um, and and I think one of the things we have done, been very careful about, is really focus on making sure we control the content that the AI works on. So a lot of it is all internal content. Even if you have to trade off, for example, accuracy, we've tried to make sure we can link and label content so at any time there's a question on what drove this, we are able to link where it's coming from. So I would say so far from a productivity perspective, and again, when we looked at stats in terms of does it actually matter, we have looked at several analysis, and you can clearly see an increase in productivity that the financial advisors think.
Every single time that I've spoken with a leader, there's like a lot of question on two things. Obviously, the first one that we just addressed, which was bias, compliance, and regulation and fairness of the models itself. But the second question that always comes is that, at what level of accuracy are you willing to let go of the human in the loop? And I'm sure that, for Morgan Stanley, it's a very, very critical decision because, all the interactions with Morgan Stanley have been through advisors and people and human. At what point in time do you feel comfortable? At what accuracy thresholds do you feel comfortable that, the human in the loop can be, um, I wouldn't say the right word is ignored, but when does the advice that's coming from, let's say, your internal chat systems, they are going to be extremely accurate and can be followed?
I think I would say we're in an evolving journey on that front.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it right now is aiding the financial advisors. And as part of this, we are collecting feedback from them as to how useful or accurate the information has been. Right now, we're still viewing this as something that aids our financial advisors. I would say it's an evolving process. We've seen pretty good early success, but I would say it's still evolving, and we're still using it. For example, even in the debrief that we spoke about, we need the financial advisor to review the content before they send it. The good thing is a lot of them have been pretty happy with what gets generated. So this is a rapidly evolving.
Are you thinking that, every customer of Morgan Stanley, every client, institutional, personal, private individual, will have a personalized experience with Morgan Stanley in the future? Do you think that, that world is going to come? And if so, I have some sub questions on that. What is the level of personalization graph that you can provide? And that, if it'll be great if you can talk about that. But then are you also concerned about, long-term, Morgan Stanley as a brand, which is, how does then Morgan Stanley appear in the future to everyone? And, is over personalization going to sort of, deplete the brand as well?
I think, look, even within wealth management, I think we always have thought about a client as a client of one.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure we are solving for what the client's needs are. And even with a lot of our current predictive modeling, it's effectively evaluating and making decisions for each individual separately. So I would say our journey of personalization has been how we've always thought about it. Even financial advisors, they treat their clients individually. So we've always been on the path of trying to personalize every individual's experience. Obviously, we have suites and products, and we want to be able to solve for what everyone needs. Now, obviously, when you extend this thought process towards the full firm, as the data improves and we're able to mix and match better, I think the goal again will always be to be able to personalize. I don't think it dilutes in any way the brand, because I think we've always been about what the client needs. And there will obviously be a set of clients who are looking for something else, and that's completely fine. But I think as long as our products and services appeal for the clients, I don't think in any way we look at it as a brand dilution. It's really, which is why we have a whole set of products. We have products that are for the affluent. There are products that are self-directed that we want to bring emerging clients in. And so the diversification of products is always meant to ensure that we try to solve for everybody who's looking for a product and service that makes sense for us.
Yeah, possibly this is the future of, all businesses, especially, when we think about education, when we think about, investment advice, these have always been very, very personal experiences and, personal things. For example, the pace of learning. And, we have some customers in the digital space who are talking about a complete overhaul in the L&D space because everybody wants to learn at their own pace. There's like a lot of questions which are opening up in terms of university education and, should everybody go through the 4-year and the 6-year course? So there's some element of personalization which is in question. I want to go back to the whole topic of controls and regulatory consideration, primarily in the context of the content that you're feeding into your partnership with OpenAI and how you're aiding advisors, you know enabling AI at scale, especially at Morgan Stanley scale, and by virtue of that, a lot of people who get affected through that. What kind of, controls have you implemented in terms of even internal content? What data access and compliance rules have you applied?
The platform is something that we control. We obviously have a part of it where we test new ideas before anything goes out into production. We have governance forums which evaluate every use case that is being considered before it gets rolled out. We obviously have a test bed, but anything that goes into production goes through a governance platform and governance committee to make sure that we have the right use cases working for it. The data, again, is very controlled. So like I said, it's content and research that we have published, which obviously are evaluated before they get sent out. Even when we launched the chatbot, like I said, we made trade-offs that even if it misses out certain external information, we were only using internal approved content to be able to feed the chatbot. So you're able to really regulate and control what amount. And the good thing is we've had a ton of history and content. So it's really that creates a ton of value for the client. So the way really is, like I said, control the platform, make sure all the use cases are vetted and signed off, and the data that feeds into it is again controlled, and what we know is accurate and of high quality. So that's been the way in which we've been able to make sure for the client we're doing the right thing, as well as the data is. We don't want an experience where data is coming from external. We have no idea what it is, and it's feeding the AI model. Like I said earlier, the explainability of what drives the outcomes is very much part of how we look at success. And so we've put a lot of effort to make sure that we know what goes in, what's driving the recommendations, and where is it being sourced for. And that's really the way we're trying to manage it.
This has been great, Atul. Thank you so much for doing this with us today. It was an absolute pleasure hosting you, and I look forward to doing this again with you sometime soon. Thank you so much.
Great conversation.
For more interviews and insights, please visit cdomagazine.tech.